What is Luxembourg's position when it comes to corruption, and how does it impact the financial sector? I'm Stéphanie Lhomme, partner at Arendt, leading the forensic investigations, corporate intelligence, and litigation support practice. Luxembourg being a financial hub, the market has long argued that the focus should be on anti-money laundering. Yet, recent global corruption cases in the fund industry evidently highlighted the limitations of the AML framework in preventing and detecting corruption, simply because this is not its primary aim. That is why the fight against corruption is foreseen to be one of the major future regulatory projects in Europe, and for Luxembourg in particular. There are three motivating factors to consider. First, the latest OECD report from March 2024 on the fight against corruption suggests that Luxembourg still has some work to do. It mentions the low rate of investigations into bribery, the lack of deterrent effect of sanctions, the low level of financial resources allocated to this fight, and the lack of proactive detection of bribery of foreign public officials. Second, as we have seen in the previous episode, the EU is preparing to tackle this issue in depth with the coming directive. Finally, and that is often forgotten, entities in Luxembourg can be subject to laws from other countries. The United Kingdom Anti-Bribery Act, known as UKBA, the French Sapin II law, and the United States Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, known as the FCPA, can all apply to entities in Luxembourg. The FCPA is in fact a real legal weapon. The United States is in a position to assume jurisdictions over corruption cases as soon as they have a hint of an American link, such as an email or a dollar transaction appearing in the investigation. Given the characteristic of alternative investment funds, to name a few, hard-to-value illiquid assets, complex multi-layered structures, and a high number of intermediaries, it is nothing new that AIFs are highly exposed to corruption threats. They have in fact figured prominently in recent high-profile corruption cases in which they were used to pay bribes. Let's keep in mind that investment funds are also a common means through which ownership and control are held in extractive industries, including in the mining of critical minerals for the energy transition, sectors highly exposed to corruption. AIFs, such as private equity, may also inadvertently or otherwise invest in portfolio companies that engage in corrupt practices. Let's reflect on a few examples. Case 1. A few years ago, I worked for a European private equity which identified some suspicious transactions after acquiring a company in Europe. The deal was highly competitive, time was of the essence, and IT bribery and corruption due diligence had been overlooked. We documented that the founder had diverted money from the company to invest in a horse racing business and in a regional football club. Part of the fund invested in a football club went to two public officials, who in return had sold the land below market value and granted permits to expand the horse racing business owned by the founder. Case number 2, I worked a few years ago for a private equity fund which had just acquired a company in Europe, in a sector exposed to public-private partnership. They had not been able to perform sufficient due diligence pre-acquisition and did so just after. They rapidly identified significant payments to several well-known politically exposed persons. We performed a thorough investigation which highlighted that at least 30% of the revenue derived from contracts obtained by paying bribes. You can easily imagine the criminal liability they might inherit, including in the US, as many LPs were US-based, but also the hit on the return on investment when the acquisition price is based on contracts that they will need to exit. Add to this the remediation cost and, of course, the potential legal cost. It might be the perfect time to play in some initiative in the field of anti-corruption compliance framework, so get in touch with genuine experts.